recall getting up today somewhere between 8 and 8:30 in the morning. This was after going to bed around 3 in the morning, right around that time, as I've been doing for these past recent days. Though I'm hoping I'll be able to push that time a little earlier, since I haven't really slept since. Neither on the car ride to Grandma's place at Whitesville, nor on the way back home. There was an initial plan for Mom to pick me up from Dad's place around 9 in the morning. And I was all ready. By 8:45 in the morning at the latest. I was probably pretty much all ready before that point. But Mom ended up coming to Dad's place around 9:30 in the morning, because she stopped to get gas for the car. And made a quick stop at our local Wegmans in order to get some of their pre-made salads. 2 chicken Cobb and 1 garden salad. I believe the big versions of those we had those salads for lunch. Me, Mom, and Grandma around 12:15 p.m. Grandma had some of the garden salad, and Mom and I had the chicken Cobb salads. And we each had a thing of brine dairy whole milk. One of these. Only what I put in here are the wrappers of the 2 Texas Hots that I had technically on the way home from Grandma's place, I had 2 Texas Hots. I recall Mom had 1. I'm having 4 right now. We got a total of 20 Texas Hots. And a jar of their sauce. We technically started the drive back home around 5:30 p.m. But because it's a bit of a tradition of ours to get some Texas Hots at the Texas Hots place, every time we go to either Whitesville or Wellsville in order to visit family members, and Texas Hots is in Wellsville, it took us about half an hour to get there and truly start the drive back home. It was around 6:15 p.m. when I had those 2 initial Texas Hots. Essentially to have some while they're fresh was the reasoning. The drive back home was roughly from 6 p.m. and not counting the part where we made a detour in order to get Texas Hots. Six p.m. to about 8:03 p.m. The car ride to Grandma's place was roughly from 9:30 in the morning to about noon. For breakfast, it was pretty much just breakfast for me. We made a stop at our local Wendy's. The one by Dad's place. Where I got a breakfast sandwich meal, and the meal came with technically a side of potato wedges and a fountain drink. I kept the potato wedges but swapped the fountain drink for a coffee. I figured that would be healthier, and I wanted to make sure I wouldn't fall asleep while visiting Grandma. I had one and a part of a second cup of plain coffee from the morning pot Dad made, roughly from about 9:15 to 9:30 in the morning, essentially while I was waiting for Mom. To pick me up from Dad's place. The breakfast sandwich I got was a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit sandwich. I felt like having some biscuits at the time. And the car ride to Grandma's place, we passed the time, me and Mom, by talking to each other, both on current plans and on things we've done previously. And doing that, we were at Grandma's place before we knew it. Part of why Mom went to Grandma's place was to give her some binders, or to bring some binders in order to sort family photos by family member. And that's generally what we spent a majority of our time at Whitesville doing, which was roughly from noon to about 5:30 p.m. Mom and Grandma going through family photos, sorting them. I'm not as much into that as they are. I'm more into drawing on polystyrene with Sharpie markers. But I do still find such photos to be quite precious. It was nice to visit Grandma. She's always so kind to us. Towards the end of the visit, I asked if I could have the partial bag of crunchy Cheetos in that snack corner area of the kitchen. But she ended up giving us a box of honeycombs instead. Only because she was concerned about the Cheetos being too old, as she had had that partially eaten bag of Cheetos for quite a while. And it's the same thing for this box of honeycombs, though for that, there's not as much concern. There's not as much concern of it being overly stale compared to that partial bag of crunchy Cheetos. I have plans of drawing a third Akana polystyrene drawing for Grandma. But as of now, I'm not currently working on that. Since I've got other polystyrene drawings to work on for the time being, such as some commissions and personal projects. But I do have that idea in the works at some point. It seemed one of the binders had, technically as it turns out, I looked it up on my phone, a block of polystyrene, something like that. It's not quite polystyrene, but polystyrene is what I work on. What I've worked on a vast majority of the time. Still, I brought that block of foam to Mom's place. It turned out it seemed like it was seemed to be in one of the binders that Mom brought over to Grandma's place in order to sort family photos. And at one point I looked through a photo album that essentially consisted of photos from my first year, me and my sister's first year, essentially, as well as some other miscellaneous family photos thrown in too. I enjoyed looking through those photos. Though I couldn't help but get the feeling that some weren't me, since they were dated 1996, before I was born. So it's either somebody else or it was somehow dated wrong. Either way, it was nice looking through those photos. This is most of what Mom got me for Easter. Although it wasn't until today, upon getting home and after helping Mom bring the stuff in the car into the house, which included 2 pieces of a clothes rack that we at one point worked together to get out of Grandma's place into our car. We worked together to take the 2 pieces apart, kind of push the button that controls the height rungs, and then pull the top off of the bottom half of the clothes rack. Then we put those 2 pieces in the car, and we did the reverse upon getting home. And after doing that, I was shown my Easter presents, which were left on the living room table. And also at one point, either today or an earlier day, Mom went in my room and did some cleaning, which primarily consisted of taking the old polystyrene drawing projects that were in a cardboard box and putting them in a plastic bin. A clear plastic bin, transparent to an extent, of which she was very careful. And them being in a bin is better than them being in a cardboard box, because a bin offers more protection from things like dust and whatnot. A bin provides more protection than a cardboard box. The clothes rack still works just fine, but I believe Grandma wanted us to move it out of her house because she had no need for it, no use for it, essentially. Around 4:15 p.m., around the same time we disassembled and then moved that clothes rack out of Grandma's house. Again, the clothes rack just consisted of 2 pieces, so disassembling it and reassembling it took 1-2 minutes at most. I both sent some mail to be delivered at the post office at Whitesville and received Grandma's mail on her behalf. Mom drove me there, and I walked into the post office. From what I recall, not that much was sent, but quite a bit of mail was received, and Mom had me put all the mail into this sort of bag that was kind of like this one, but I think it was more made out of plastic, and it was significantly smaller. And I recall it being more red and black in color. It wasn't easy to put all that mail in at once. I think it all just barely fit in to that sort of plastic bag, only it's a rigid plastic bag. It's not what you think of if you think of a plastic bag. It's more rigid. My best way of describing it would be like it's one of those mall shopping bags that you get from one of their stores at checkout, something like that. But yeah, it was no problem to both send and receive Grandma's mail.